And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your North Carolina Tar Heels. And of course, I am also the lead beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. On Saturday, North Carolina played Virginia in the 130th edition of the South's oldest rivalry, and we had a hell of a game. Of course, it was North Carolina. The game went to overtime, and Virginia won 17-16. Virginia won the game by stopping UNC on a 2-point conversion. That if UNC, of course, would have won, the game's over. UNC wins the game. The fields rush. The student section rushes the field. Keenan, and then they go celebrate on Franklin Street. That's how it went if North Carolina would have converted, but Virginia stopped them. And it was also by an inch too, like literally an inch. Ben Hall got tackled, and if he had just extended just a little bit further, the ball a little bit further, it would have been a touchdown. That's how close it was. It was literally an inch. If you go back and watch the replay, it was literally like this close. It was ridiculously close. But North Carolina, the thing is, they had a lot of opportunities to win this game, like a whole lot. And really, North Carolina should have won this game. Like I firmly believe that North Carolina should have won this game. I firmly believe that. I really do. There's multiple opportunities for North Carolina to take the lead, right? One of North Carolina's early shots, I believe, is on the second drive. Drive down the field. G. Lopez hits Kobe Pastore in the middle of the field. Kobe runs down the field, gets close to the pylon, and of course, he gets in. It looks like he scores a touchdown. However, he had lost possession just before the ball was to hit the pylon. Because originally they rolled him down the 1 yard line. They went back and reviewed it because it looked like he had scored a touchdown. But on further inspection, the referees realized, oh, wait, he fumbled the ball. He fumbled the ball right before he got in. And of course, they went back in the field. They not only overruled it, but gave the ball right back to Virginia. Because, of course, if you fumble the ball and it goes out of the end zone, it's a touchback. So Virginia got the ball back on the 25-yard line. UNC also had a chance to take the lead at the end of the first half. It was 10-10 all. And UNC got in field goal range. It was a 50-yard field goal. You managed to get the range of 50 yards. And Reese Furhoff makes the first kick. Right? He makes the first kick. And everything. We're like, oh, we're going to halftime. UNC has the lead, which, by the way, I don't remember the last time they had the lead over a Power 4 opponent at halftime because they haven't had it all year. So they're going to have their first lead of the season over a Power 4 opponent. However, Virginia literally called a timeout right before it, and they had to go kick it again, and he missed it. Tied 10-10, right? North Carolina, another time during the third quarter, it was midway through the third quarter. North Carolina is in the red zone. Gio Lopez throws a pick. It goes like Gio Lopez threw a ball that went straight to Shinar Clower's helmet, bounces off his helmet, and it goes up in the air and then lands in Virginia defensive end Mitchell Belton's hands. There's an interception. Then North Carolina, near the end of the game, under the final minute, they're getting closer and closer to field goal range. It looks like they could probably kick the game-winning field goal. However, North Carolina just elects to throw it deep down the field. They throw it to Major Tucker, who, by the way, had a good game today. I believe he had like 8 catches for 41 yards. If I remember correctly, and let me actually double check that. But I do know he had 8 catches. Yeah, 8 catches for 41 yards. He led the Tar Heels in catches. By the way, this is a guy who has not had a catch all year. And he led the team with 8 catches. But he's a smaller guy, small on the smaller end. He's 5'10", 5'9", 5'10". Gio Lopez threw him the ball. He had to really go reach up and go get it. Bounced right off his hands, and it went to the hands of a Virginia defender, basically ending overtime. And really, if Gio would have thrown it a little bit earlier, he was open. The problem is he waited just a little bit too late, and he threw it right when Virginia had double coverage on Grant Chachere. So the end of regulation, North Carolina goes. They go into overtime. Virginia scores first. North Carolina, of course, gets the ball back. They drive 25 yards for the touchdown. That first. They completed the, I guess you could say, half drive in overtime when Lopez connected with Davion Gauze for the 9-yard touchdown. They elected to go for a two-point conversion, but of course, as I mentioned, it failed. And really, and I'll say this about the two-point conversion. I thought it was the right call, right? I really do think it was the right call. The only thing I object to, maybe a little bit of the play call, just a little bit. I think maybe would have done these differently because Gio Lopez is a left-handed quarterback. They should have rolled him out to the left. There's that. But then also really the main thing is they should have called a timeout. They had a timeout to give. It's overtime. You had the timeout to give. Call the timeout. You're going for the win. So it's going to be your last time anyway. Go for the timeout. Come up with the best play possible for this situation. Talk it over. Calm everyone down. And go get the victory. But they did not do that. However, I do believe that the two-point conversion was the right call for North Carolina, right? You're the underdogs, right? You are the underdog. Virginia has also been in multiple overtime games as it is. So I think when you're the underdog, go for the knockout punch down. You had the opportunity to go for the knockout punch, go do it. Number two, you're at you got to have a message, right? You got to have the message that we're in here to win it, right? For the last 2-3 weeks, and you can make a case the whole year, but especially the whole entire month of October, the media has been hammering Belichick, and I'm one of them. I'm one of them. So the media's been hammering Belichick. You have all this outside noise. You have this and that. And of course, the players have played with more motivation since that has happened. And on top of that, you need to show the fans that you're willing to win. You need to show the fans that you're willing to take risks, right? Because the thing about Belichick, he's not really a risk taker, right? In terms of being overly aggressive with risk. I could be wrong because, of course, he's taken some risks before, but he's a very conservative guy compared to some other coaches, and he went for two. And there's actually some fans that cheered. I actually hear some fans cheering in the stadium. They're really excited. I mean, and if you really think about it, if Ben Hall just extends his hand a little bit further, we're having a different conversation. A completely different conversation. So I really do think that it was the right call to go for two. You had an opportunity to win the game against the number 16 team in the country, a team that could make the college football playoff, a team that could win the ACC. You had a chance to win the game. Go do it. But fortunately, it just didn't fall in UNC's hands. It was the right decision to make. I mean, it really was. But you should have been in that situation if you didn't turn the ball over twice in the red zone. If you make that kick, which by the way, that 50-yard field goal is hard enough to make, right? I'm not blaming Reese for off, but there's a lot of things that happened in this game that you could turn to and be like, this is one of the reasons why they lost, and you could. Gio Lopez had decent game. He had a better game than he usually does. He was finally able to get over the 200-yard mark. The first half, he was awesome. 173 yards. Played, 17 of 23 passes. He was awesome. However, in the second half, Virginia just limited him. I mean, he threw for under 40 yards the rest of the game. That's including the overtime period. And, it just didn't work out. And so, he threw 2 interceptions, but I do think there's some context to his interceptions. But overall, it was just not a very it wasn't a great day for Lau. It was a good day. And really, also, they ran the ball pretty effectively. The Tar Heels ran for 145 yards. They averaged 3.7 yards per carry. But the thing is, you got to take away Gio's yards, right? Gio had 0.9 yards per carry. But Ben Hall had 11 carries for 50 yards, averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Damon June, 9 carries for 39 yards. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Davion Goss, 3 carries for 30 yards, had 10 yards per carry. Jalen McGill, who's seen some carries, 3 carries for 14 yards. Right, all 4 of those guys averaged 4.3 yards per carry or more. So the offensive line did its part in running the ball, and really, I wish at times they ran the ball more, because it seemed like it was working at times. But UNC's run offense has improved over time, and it really starts with the offensive line. But I think the big thing that really stood out to me was the defense. If you had to come up with a positive for what happened today, I do really think it was it was the defense, and it was very clear, right? UNC. So going into this game, Virginia had averaged about 450 to 460 yards per game. I don't have the exact number. Here we go. 462.3 yards per game, which is 4th in ACC and 20th nationally. UNC only gave up 259 yards of total offense. Then you go to the rushing attack, right? Virginia, coming into the game, had averaged 204 yards per game. Virginia, in this game, only ran for 59. They averaged 1.7 yards per carry. Virginia on the year averaged 5.08 yards per carry, which is 3rd in the ACC and 31st nationally. But here's the real kicker, in my opinion. Virginia's offensive line had only allowed 5 sacks all season long. You know how much they gave up today? 6, including 3 from Melkart Abu-Jawdeh. UNC's defense was getting after it, y'all. 6 sacks for the day. 3 from Melkart Abu-Jawdeh. Tyler Thompson, CJ Mims, and Isaiah Johnson all had sacks. 6 sacks total. And and the great thing is about UNC is that, as much as the offense has been, I would say bad, but given how much the offense has struggled, even though I think they're getting better with running the ball and especially run blocking in general. Sorry. The defense, man. If you take away that Clemson game, they would be a top 25 defense. I really do believe that. Going into the game, UNC was 64th in total defense, 36th in run defense, and they were 6th in red zone defense. And I'm actually looking up the yards. I'm not sure if the NCAA's updated everything. But North Carolina, so they updated a little bit. So they're 63rd now. But if you look at their rushing defense, well, maybe they haven't changed everything. They have. They haven't changed everything yet. They'll update tomorrow. But I'll be really interested to see what the rankings are when they come out on Sunday. Of course, it's being recorded on a Saturday night. Doing this a few hours after the game, stayed up to watch the LSU game, which was not pretty. Actually, the UNC Virginia game was much better than the LSU Texas A&M game, of course. But I really loved the resolve that UNC had in this game. There's a lot to move forward. Next week they go against Syracuse, who's really struggling. And I'll say this now. I really do think UNC will beat Syracuse next week, right? I think UNC's done enough to improve over the course of the season. I think the defense is finally coming together. A lot of praise has to go to Steve Belichick, given how he's gotten the defense to play after that abysmal performance against Clemson. To me, last week against Cal, that was okay. However, Cal's offense has struggled too as well. But this week to do what they did against this Virginia offense is truly incredible. And a lot of praise needs to go to Steve Belichick. I think the offense is improving little by little. It doesn't look great, but the offense is improving. Gio Lopez is getting a little bit more comfortable. You're starting to see you're starting to see the receiver core really step up. Jordan Shipp and Kobe Pacer are really complementing each other, which is great to see. You see guys like Madrid Tucker come through and Javarius Green come through. Nathan Leacock had a catch. You're starting to see more and more guys contribute in the passing game, which is always good to see because I think that was one of North Carolina's biggest problems, that you didn't have a guy outside of Jordan Shipp to really step up. Kobe Pacer has become that guy. And then, of course, you got a couple others. So that's always a great thing to see because we need to start seeing more consistency with North Carolina. And that was kind of the issue all year. There wasn't really much consistency outside of just being consistently bad. But you're starting to see them move forward. You start to see a more positive movement for North Carolina when it comes to their improvement. And that's something you wanted to see. You want to see them consistently move forward, not back. We started to see that the last 2 weeks, not only for the defense, but I think the offense as well, even if it's still struggling just a bit. The improvements there, Belichick said, this team is way more proven than they were during the spring. And we kind of chuckled and laughed at it because basically Belichick said, we're not going to change anything and blah, 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 blah. I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, so yeah, they're not going to improve. But they have improved. So a lot of credit needs to go to the coaching staff for getting this team ready to play. With that being said, my name is Grant Chachere. I am the host of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast and the lead beat writer for Tar Heels on SI. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at SachareGrant. And then also make sure to follow our Twitter page at Tar Heels on SI. And then, of course, our Facebook page, North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.